Everyone, I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable gets together. We'll see what they have to say about a wide range of topics. But between now and then, some great guests and important information coming your way. We'll tell you why it's important, by the way, to donate your household items and other things to Goodwill, especially this time of the year. We'll also tell you why it's a good thing if you can be a volunteer for hospice. That and much more, plus a visit from the good folks at Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, a group that does a lot for the community. And speaking of folks that do a lot for the community, we're going to talk about Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we have three gentlemen here who can tell us all about it. On my right, our good friend David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Schuler, who himself is a big brother, and we'll tell you how he came to do that in just a second. Next to him is our good friend Shawan Gabriel, president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and bringing up the rear, and we always mean that affectionately, Griff Schuler with Daggett Schuler. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having us.
Shawan, let me start with you. Remind everybody quickly what the mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters is.
The mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters is to provide caring adult mentors in the lives of children and families.
I think I read an email or something, you guys recently won a national honor or something?
It's really exciting news, right? So we were recognized to have the Big Brother of the Year out of 355 affiliates. Over, I think it's 60-some thousand Big Brothers.
Wow.
We were the
congratulations on that.
So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job. Now, I have a T-shirt here that David Daggett folded just a moment ago, and I unfolded it. But it's got a logo on it, and we can see it on screen later when we put the website up. But it reminded me to ask you about something about a new brand that you're launching. So tell me about that.
Yes, so we're the new Big Brothers Big Sisters. As you've known, Big Brothers Big Sisters has always been about working with children in the community. What we want, we have a new building, we have a new facility that's going to be a mentoring center, thanks to the gracious gifts from several folks in our community. We're going to bring people in. The new brand helps to usher us into a new phase in our existence.
David, you've been a Big Brother for a long time, and I think you hold a personal record.
That's what they told me. I've been a Big Brother for 36 years.
Wow.
I actually just texted with my little brother yesterday, and we set up a breakfast for over Christmas break. Chuck, if you're watching, I love you.
That's great. Good job.
So Chuck was 10, and I was 22, I believe. So 36 years. Been doing it. The thing that Chuck and I always say when we're together, and whoever starts, everyone finishes, is Big Brothers Big Sisters changes lives for both.
That's true.
And then whoever finishes the sentence, it's forever.
That is
wow.
Very true.
You've changed the lives forever.
What a great role model for the program.
And very selfishly, I think the big gets more out of the relationship than the little.
Griff, why is it so important for there to be adult mentors in this situation?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to building leadership for the mentee, and as David just said, building leadership skills for the mentor. Obviously, David is an example of someone that started doing it at a very young age, a young adult. And it probably, in a lot of ways, provided a lot of leadership skills for him to have that connection with a younger generation. And so I think, as David just said, probably the assumption with Big Brothers Big Sisters is it's great for the mentees. I think it's great for the mentors.
Absolutely. Shawan, now I know that you're always telling me in emails and whatever that you need volunteers, you need Big Brothers Big Sisters. What are the requirements, very quickly, if I want to volunteer? What are the requirements?
Really, we do have a thorough background screening, and so the enrollment process is conducted by our professional staff, but the requirements is just that you are willing and able to provide a good, positive impact in the life of a young person.
David, wrap up. We have about 30 seconds. Tell us why somebody should be a Big Brother.
Well, Shawan and the organization do a fabulous job. Of course, I predate him by a generation, and I go back 2 buildings in the organization. But they do a terrific job. It changes lives forever. It will change your life. Being involved, and there's lots of ways to be involved.
Yeah.
So contact the organization. I encourage you to do that. And you'll be thrilled that you did it.
And while David is saying that, we see on screen Big Brothers Big Sisters, bbbsnc.org for the radio listening audience, bbbsnc.org, and DaggettSchulerLaw.com is up on screen, and their phone number, and hope you will check out them see what their services are. But I tell you, as far as services, you guys go way and beyond, you and Griff, David, and Shawan, thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We'll be right back after this. I'm always glad when someone can stop by from the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation because they do just so much good work and have done it for many, many, many years, trying to help communities throughout our area. And we have a great representative of them with us right now. On my right, Jose Oliva is a second-year fellow with Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Let's remind people very briefly before we get started what the mission is and what's the focus of Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation.
Yeah, so the C. Smith Reynolds Foundation's mission is to improve the quality of life of North Carolinians, and we do this through charitable works across the state.
And just in case people didn't see you when you were on the show before, second-year fellow, but you've sort of been involved with a lot of things over the years. So originally you were born where?
I was born in Guatemala and moved to Greensboro back in 2011.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you here. Now,
Thank
back
you.
in June, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, back in June, the foundation launched something called All for NC. Tell us what that is. I want to understand that and what it means for grant opportunities.
Yeah, so the All for NC is our new framework for grant making and learning, and we have 3 strategies under that framework. Just recently, we are launching one of the last strategies under that framework called the All for NC Fellowship, which what it really is a way for the foundation to invest in young people. So the foundation has been very inspired by the commitment of young people to building a better society. So we wanted to provide funding and resources to help young individuals develop their ideas for making a better North Carolina.
Now it sounds great. I know it is great, but help me out on this. Now, who would be eligible for this? How does it work?
Yeah, so any North Carolinian between the ages 21 and 35 can apply. We're looking for ideas that have a public benefit for North Carolina. We're also asking the applicants to be able to commit 12 months to developing their ideas throughout this fellowship, and they will receive various support from a $75,000 stipend to one-on-one coaching to peer learning. So we want to equip young people to grow and develop the North Carolina they want to really see.
Well, we didn't rehearse this, or I didn't give you a heads up on this, so let me just catch you off guard and say this. Give me an example, either something you proposed or something some other young people have proposed. Give me an example, because we've talked about how this thing works. What's a topic? What's an example of something a young person might want to work on and they get the grant and they start working on it?
That's a great question. So we are open. So we don't have a specific issue we're trying to address through this fellowship, and we are not looking for a specific approach. So we're looking for authors, we're looking for community organizers, for social entrepreneurs. To give you an example, Michelle Alexander, who wrote the New Jim Crow, she spent significant time developing that book and writing through a fellowship similar to what we're building. So we're
Right.
open to those ideas, but we're not limited to those.
I want to put something up on screen here. www.zsr, stands for ZSmithReynolds.org. For the radio listening audience, again, www.zsr.org. We have just a couple of seconds left. Why do you like being involved with the foundation?
Well, I think it is a privilege to be part of a grant-making organization. I have been blessed, and this is my way to give back to the community.
Well, you're a fine fellow, and I appreciate all you're doing, and you're a good role model, and you keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. All right, we'll be right back after this. Now on Triad Today, and always glad when this lady can drop by and tell us about an organization that does a lot of great things for people in serving people with compassionate care. I believe in hospice so much and have been through it, and my family's used it. And we have a lady here who's going to talk about sort of the need for you folks at home to join in and help us help others. Next to me, our good friend Sheila Jones, Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks for having me back.
Let's remind everybody, before I ask you some questions about volunteerism, let's remind everybody very quickly what hospice is, what it does, who it serves.
Hospice cares for terminally ill patients mostly in their home, but we also have 2 inpatient facilities. These are folks who might have a terminal illness who would be 6 months or less.
All right. Now, and I'm glad you mentioned that most of it's in-home care, but you do have the great, really nice hospice homes as well. 2 of them, one in Dobbs and
One in Yadkin County.
Yadkin County. All right, now when you're on, usually we always sort of stick in a 5 or 10 second plug for, hey, let's volunteer. But I want to spend more time on that today, just a few minutes on that. I'm assuming you still need volunteers.
We do, and we thought that, end of the year, everybody's thinking about these New Year's resolutions and what they're going to do in the upcoming year, and we thought what a wonderful time to share and say, what about including volunteering in that?
Absolutely.
And even better, including volunteering with us.
Absolutely. And now if somebody said, well, okay, now I'm not a professional or anything, Sheila, what can I do as a volunteer? What would you have me do?
The number one thing we need, and always recruiting for, is for someone to be at the bedside with that family. They don't have to have any medical background or anything. It's just being that companion for that patient so that caregiver can leave the home or go in the other room and take a nap, or go run to the doctor themselves, or go run to the grocery store, go pick up a meal from the store. And even a volunteer's bringing a meal in, or anything they could offer to assist that family in that 24-hour care for that patient.
That's just so neat. And the volunteers you have are great, and they do great work, and I hope we'll get some more. We'll put up a website that people can get more information in a minute. You have a retail shop where you take items, and the money you make from that goes back into hospice. I'm just wondering, if I want to volunteer, could that be something I could work at? Or?
That's the great thing about what we get to do with volunteers. We try to figure out where that volunteer's interest is and put them based on that. And so yes, using volunteers at the resale shop is a wonderful way to do that. They can come and sort through items, price items. If you like decorating, you could make the displays. If you like running the register, you can run the register. You get to choose what you want to do. If you're a nurse and you're a professional and you want to come volunteer, we can let you volunteer in a nurse capacity.
Wow.
It can be whatever that volunteer has as their interest.
I never thought of that, so you can be a nurse and go in there.
We have physicians who are volunteers.
How about that? Now, what are the requirements to be a volunteer? Is there any kind of background check or things you need to have? Or
we ask that you pass a criminal background check, have a good valid driver's license, and be willing to serve. If you're 16 and up, we have a volunteering program. So, as long as you're willing to, if you're able to give a couple of hours a week.
You give some great quality of care to all people who come through your doors, but I know you serve a lot of veterans as well. Mm-hmm. Does it ever help for you to have volunteers come in who are themselves veterans?
Oh, yes. As part of our We On Our Veterans program, that is one of the number one things that we look for is volunteers to pair, veteran volunteers to pair with veteran patients. Think about some things that those veterans have been asked to do in their career, how hard that is to share with your loved one, but yet you have that camaraderie of that military serviceman next to you, man or woman next to you, that you've done. So you're going to have those reminiscing talks and things that
Right.
you're going to do. So it's just having someone that they automatically, instantly connect with. It just increases the great possibility of their care being enhanced by they had a connection. And that emotional connection to us is just as important as that medical connection.
Absolutely. Anything coming up over the holidays or for the new year, or looking ahead to the new year, or anything you want to give a plug to before we?
Just that continue to think about us as you're out and about. Volunteering is a big deal. It's a big deal all the time. And as volunteering is something that not everybody's willing to do anymore because we all have our own lives, it is definitely something that's always needed, not just by us, but other nonprofit agencies.
Makes a difference for everybody. On screen, mtmvalleyhospice.org is the website. Please check that out. Please think about volunteering. Sometimes we can't give money to organizations and make donations at the end of the year, but you can sure give time. Sheila Jones, thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today. This whole program has sort of been themed around community service, people doing things for other people, volunteering, making donations, and I think this fits in well with that, because next to me is a very special guest who's been with us many times before. Here he is. Dana Conti is Director of Donation Services for Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Yes, great to be here. Thank you.
I'm going to start out with a stupid question. Here we are in the throes of the holiday season. What are your expectations in terms of donations? Are they going to be up? Are they down? What happens during the holidays?
Well, we certainly hope they're up. But typically at the end of the year, the last couple days of the year is a high volume day. Just everyone trying to, at the end of the year, get the closets cleaned, make room for the new stuff they just got, I guess, and certainly take advantage of the tax advantage, the write-offs.
Well, that's true. I didn't think about that. There is a tax advantage to doing that. You guys will always give out little slips people can fill out and use for their tax return. How are you planning to handle and you cover a vast region, Northwest North Carolina. How do you handle the additional inventory of donations?
Well, we're set for that. So particularly at the end of the year, we'll take administrative staff and others will work the last few days of the year. We, because it's we've been doing this for a long time. We anticipate it. We'll gear up with staff, with our internal staff.
Any special holiday hours or anything people should know about?
No, we are open up until 8 up till 8 every evening, and it's just standard hours, 1 to 6 on Sundays.
Let me ask you, and we've talked about this before, not just around holiday times, but sometimes these needs change. So let me ask you again, are there any items in particular that you think Goodwill needs more of now than they normally don't get?
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're always looking for men's clothing. That's always been a challenge for us to keep in inventory, as well as warm clothes this time of year, seasonal goods throughout the year.
Overcoats, gloves.
Yeah, it's always a great need. Even blankets, comforters, things of that nature.
And we didn't talk about this before we started the segment, and I'm just wondering, you will also take larger items, certain types of furniture and appliances and whatever. Now, are they donated differently? Are they picked up differently? Is there a service to pick things up if they're large items or what?
Yeah, so we're set up several ways. We have what we call our attended donation centers throughout the area that make it convenient for people to donate, where we have an attendant working those trailers that you may see sitting in the parking lot, so we can give a personal thank you and assist those people who are making donations with those items to get them into the trailer.
Right.
Also the stores, we'll take all those types of goods. We just want things that are in good condition. Sometimes we have to remind people we're not a refuse company.
Right. If it's something larger, I mean, can I call Goodwill and say, look, I have no way of getting this refrigerator or this dining room table to you. Can you?
Appreciate you asking that. Yeah, we have our home pickup line that you could call or go online and schedule online home pickups. We have 2 men in the truck basically to come out and get that stuff from the upstairs to the downstairs.
Wow. Now, this is something we've talked about before, but you never can say it enough. People say, well, okay, I'll go donate something. But it's no big deal. I'll drop some things off. I mean, but the thing is, these items then end up in your retail stores, and you sell the items, so now they're affordable for somebody to come in and buy that overcoat that I've just donated. All right, so they get an overcoat at a reasonable price. But the money from the sale of that overcoat does what?
Yeah, there's 2 big takeaways in what you just mentioned. One is that I always remind people the mission doesn't end when the donation is made. In fact, that's when the mission begins. We take those donations, transform them into revenue through our stores. And what I love about Goodwill is it's an international brand that gives confidence to people who donate, and everything stays local. So not only did that donation get made local, got bought local, but the revenue that's transformed from that donation helps people who are local. So it's just a local
workforce development programs, and
Correct.
job training, and all these things for people, and that's funded by these. That's
Correct.
just great.
Yeah.
Up on screen, www.goodwillnwnc.org. Please check that out for the radio listening audience. Goodwillnwnc.org. David Conte, thanks for all you do, sir.
I appreciate you, Jim. Thank
all right,
you.
man.
It's good to see you.
We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and it's time for our roundtable. And on my right is not Ogie Overman. Ogie's got the day off here, and we have an illustrious man filling in for him, David Daggett. You saw earlier in the program talking about Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and David himself, a great, long-standing Big Brother. We appreciate your service to Big Brothers and for being here. Good job.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And next to him, Dr. Don Martin, Vice Chair of the Forsyth County Commissioners, and Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants, doing lots of great work worldwide and including some voter registration stuff. Guys, I'm frustrated here on this first question. Earlier this month, an armed intruder entered a Greensboro high school through an unlocked door intending to kill 2 people. Fortunately, the SRO subdued the man and no one was hurt. Guys, I'm really tired of asking, should the federal, state, and local governments fully fund metal detectors and safety locked doors in every school? David.
Well, I think that's a tough economic hurdle to get over. I think what we need to do, and Don's probably the expert, is we need to work gradually on the practical things that we can implement today, and then continue to reevaluate and implement further measures as we proceed and as it's economically feasible.
Dr. Martin.
Yeah, essentially, when you have metal detectors, it's slow. Just think how long it takes to get through lines at the airport. Look at a beginning starting time for a high school with 2,000 students showing up, to go how long it takes to get through that. And then it just says all of us might be a little devious to try to get around things. High school kids really are. So they're going to figure out ways, well, I'm going to leave this thing out here and I'll jump out the window and get it because if it's on the ground floor,
Well, then Keith,
I'll
what's
do
the
that.
answer?
I think you need to have trained personnel at these schools, and I think that the
At every school.
And I think the police department can begin to kind of move some of their personnel in some of the places where they feel like it's most needed, just like they do with high crime neighborhoods. They need to put them in those
I'll
schools.
add, if you were in our schools 10 years ago and you're going into them today, the security measures
Is a lot better.
Are a lot better. And what they've done is they've narrowed the fences in what I think is a very practical manner.
Yes.
All right. Guys, the man convicted of killing basketball legend Michael Jordan's father back in 1993 is seeking a new trial because he says he only helped to bury the body, hide the body, and he did not participate in the murder. Here's the general question. If he's telling the truth, should he be released from prison with time served, or is burying a body as bad as murdering the body and he should stay where he is? David.
Well, we could get into lots of legalese, the accomplice after the fact. I think this is pretty heinous. I think he stays.
Don.
I agree.
Keith.
I think it's just sort of like driving a bank robber to the bank. I mean, you are part of the crime. If somebody kills somebody, you should report it immediately.
Yeah.
Don't hide the body and expect to get out of a hideous crime like that. It's crazy.
I agree. Following several contentious sheriff's races, guys, do you think we should take politics out of the contest, change the state constitution, so that county commissioners can hire sheriffs the same way that city councils can hire police chiefs? David Daggett.
Well, no, I don't think we should change the Constitution. I do think what we should look at is in Winston-Salem, Sheriff Schatzman was extremely, extremely honorable. Our new sheriff was extremely, extremely honorable. It helps to bridge communities. That should be an example for all of us.
Don.
Well, probably a metro government in large cities also solves that. You kind of have sort of a metro police, and then you cover the sheriff only has to cover the courthouse, jail, and and deliver papers.
Right. Keith.
The sheriff is elected. Allow elected officials to be elected. What about that don't we understand? The people elect the sheriff.
Why not elect a
I don't
police chief?
understand
Why
it.
not elect a police chief?
That's up to the cities. But
Well,
I mean, in terms of the sheriff has the county area. But you cannot now. That's sort of like Sheriff B.J. Barnes wants to change legislation, but he was in power 24 years, and he was able to hire who he wanted to hire.
I was at Sheriff Kimbrough's swearing-in ceremony, which was beautiful, but it also had a civics lesson included, which would take a half hour of your show, but it explained why we have a sheriff and why the sheriff is elected.
All right, this is sort of a political correctness thing, but Kevin Hart, a comedian, was dropped as host of the Academy Awards because of the LGBTQ community is offended by his jokes about homosexuality. Guys, in general, again, we don't have to get into this a lot, but are you okay with him being dropped, or is this a suppression of free speech? Quickly, David.
I think that is up to whoever hired him and up to the viewers. Whether I agree or disagree really doesn't make a difference. I think the free market handles that one.
I do too, because that's a private enterprise hosting the event, and they can decide who they want.
Under pressure, though, does it suppress freedom of speech, Keith?
I think it does. I mean, social media is so prevalent now. Like, they had a Heisman Trophy winner, and they brought up a tweet that said he was homophobic back when he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
Give me a break. This man said his preference for his son was not to be gay. He didn't say he was against gay people. He didn't say he
Right.
disliked gay people. That was his preference.
Now he's tagged with
Now
it.
he's tagged with that,
Yeah.
and I think that's wrong.
All right, guys, changing topics finally. Police are looking for a 37-year-old man who took off all his clothes and jumped into a shark tank in the Toronto Zoo. Do you think it should be a crime to swim naked with sharks, and would you ever do it, David Daggett? Because I know you're an Iron Man, you do all these athletic events.
I have swum with sharks. I have not done so illegally, and I have not done so naked.
All right, Don.
I think that probably if there's not a law preventing them jumping in a shark tank, maybe there ought to be one.
You're smiling, Don, because you had this image of David
Swimming with sharks. I had
Keith,
that image.
would you swim naked with sharks?
But I think it's a crime that they actually went looking for him. I think he
He might have gotten eaten by the sharks.
That's
He might
right.
be
that's the
gone.
crime.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Last December, around Christmas time, we reported to you about a woman who pledged to have sex with her husband every single day for a year. Well, last week, she completed her mission and says she feels great. No response yet from her husband, who's just been hospitalized. For all of us,
All righty.
for all,
Are you airing this
no,
show?
yeah, that's. I'm just reporting the news.
Naked
For all of
sharks
us,
and now this?
yeah,
I mean,
for
I
all
don't
of us here, don't mix the stories, Keith. I'm Jim Logan. We'll see you next week.